The doctors told me it would be nearly impossible to go through with my birth. I'm pregnant with triplets, and they're telling me it's a very high-risk pregnancy, but I'm still going to go to term. But now my mother-in-law is calling me selfish, telling me the babies are going to be born with something and it's going to ruin the family's image. I mean, she's saying some pretty evil stuff, but I don't care. These are my babies, and it's a miracle I even got pregnant to begin with because the doctors told me I couldn't get pregnant, but here we are with triplets on the way. Anyways, I'm going to tell you everything my mother-in-law's doing to make my life a nightmare, and it doesn't seem to be getting better. I've never felt so hopeless before. I just want to bury myself under a blanket and sleep until the problem goes away, but I can't. Every single moment's crucial, and I have to make a decision. Usually, I pick the lesser of the two evils when faced with a difficult decision. I cannot do that in this case because I cannot tell which choice is better. I've asked my husband to pick for me, but he refuses. He's just as distraught and lost as I am, but worst of all, there is outside pressure to make a certain choice, but those people do not understand. I cannot just give up on my kids like that, not without trying. I would rather die trying to save them, but maybe I'm being too selfish. You tell me if I'm being too selfish, because I do need an outsider's perspective, so let me give you the facts first of all. I'm female, I'm 27 years of age, married to my husband Francis for over 2 years. We found out we were expecting about 3 months ago, and it was the happiest time of our life, and we had an amazing journey so far. Our family was so happy to find out that we were expecting, and even more when we found out it was triplets at our 10-week ultrasound. However, we celebrated too quickly because not long after we found out that the pregnancy indeed had complications. Our triplets had a low chance of survival and termination was advised. If I carried to full term, I would either lose them or my life. There was a very low chance of survival, and for me to survive, it would require extensive treatment. My stomach sank when the doctor broke the news to me. I wondered what I had done to deserve something like this. All I wanted was to have my babies in peace, but now I had to get rid of them. If I did not, then I could either lose them or my life, and I had sleepless nights thinking about this with my hubby, who was just as crestfallen. After some thought, we decided to get the second opinion. The second doctor told us that if we carried on, it would be a very high-risk pregnancy with many more checkups than usual. Even then, there was no guarantee that the birth would be without complication. This was not what I wanted to hear, so I went to another doctor. Until I grew tired. After this was happening, I missed a lot of work, and we still had to pay those medical bills. It was not an easy time for us, so we decided to ask my in-laws for a bit of help. My husband told his father what was happening, but that opened another, and I mean a complete can of worms. Our in-laws called a meeting with two of us and told us it was better to get rid and just, go for another pregnancy, not triplets. I'm already past 8 weeks, so getting rid of the baby will have to be surgical. And there's dangers that come with that. In fact, every step of the pregnancy is dangerous, from what I'm hearing. Their suggestion was not very helpful, and I let them know, but I will not believe how offended they got. They told my husband and me that we were being selfish. What if our kids were born with disabilities? How would that reflect on the family? I've already thought about this, and my decision still stands. I want to be a mother and cannot imagine a life without these 3 souls that I have not even met. No one except my husband and I can make these decisions. My mother-in-law told me that I was being too unreasonable and selfish, and I have to think of my family that would also have to take care of those babies if I did not make it. At this point, I was tired and angry, not caring whose feelings I hurt, and I asked if she was really concerned about my health or if she was just caring about the kids, not having issues with them. I knew how much she cared about her marriage and how she was perceived. From the moment I got married into the family, I had to consider the family image. I cannot make a single mistake or be seen in any unsavory places. Otherwise, my mother-in-law will absolutely flip. You see, my mother-in-law recently flipped on my sister-in-law for dyeing her hair an unnatural color. Yeah, just for that. Well, she said that she looked like a woman who has a very unique job. I know it sounds crazy, but that is the kind of family I married into. I knew beforehand, but I was not marrying them. I was marrying my best friend Fred. My point is that my mother-in-law had no right to make decisions about my body, and I made sure to let her know. You should have seen her face when I stood up against her. Oh man, she's not used to anybody questioning her choice. And it actually shows. She told my husband to get me to shut up before she went ahead and kicked me out. Well, I stood up and told her, you don't have to kick me out, I'll gladly leave, and she can keep her stupid money. You can say, after that, things were very tense between us, and because of this, I've rarely attended any family events. My sister-in-law's kept me up to date, though, and things are not looking good. Everybody in the family agrees with my mother-in-law and has been pressuring my husband into forcing me to get rid of the baby. Time is passing, and if I do not soon, then I will carry them to term. It's going to be a very difficult pregnancy, and it'll probably have to leave my job for, and I'm not supposed to do any strenuous activity or be stressed. There's so many risks, but something is telling me that it's worth it. I feel as if I will not have another chance after this, and I know it sounds crazy, right? Many people are still able to have kids after losing their kids, but I don't know. I've bonded with these children even though it's just been a couple of months, and I fantasize about how beautiful our family's going to be and all the activities that we're going to participate in. But now, my husband's about to be disowned by his family because of me, and I feel so guilty for causing this stress. He's assured me that I am not a burden, but I'm starting to feel like it, especially for making him choose between me and his family. He's currently away with his parents so they can discuss things, but things are not looking very good. He's told me that they have given him till the end of the week to decide between his family and our children. If he leaves me or gets me to get rid of our kids, then he can stay in the family. Otherwise, he will have to leave the family. Update number 1, 7 months later. Oh my gosh, I finally have a moment to breathe. I've been up since 5 a.m. and I've barely gotten any rest, and I managed a 2-hour nap after my husband came back home from work, but I need to sleep for way longer, not that I'm complaining. How can I complain when I have 3 bundles of joy that make my life worth living? Everything else seems so trivial. I'm beyond overjoyed at the moment, and I need to share that joy with you. The worst is past, and I managed to give birth. It was not easy, and I nearly did not make it, but all of us are okay. My babies are relatively healthy, but we will continue to take them for checkups to make sure that they're okay. But of course, not everything is 100%, but I'll let you know about that soon. Let me first bring you up to speed with what happened after my husband came back from his parents. My husband refused to be controlled, and thus they disowned him. All of our in-laws were forced to cut off contact with us, which was very difficult. I especially miss my sister-in-law because we were close. She was experiencing some issues in her own marriage but did not have a chance to tell me before we were forced to cut contact. If you're thinking that we could have secretly kept contact, well, you're wrong. When my in-laws want something to be done, then it's going to be done without hesitation. You best believe her husband was probably going through her phone to ensure that she kept the rules. She's not as lucky as I am to have a husband who loves me more than upholding stupid values. Once we were cut off, we decided we're going to downsize so that we could afford to pay our bills, and also let my job know that I would have to quit because of my high-risk pregnancy. I got very lucky because they refused to accept my resignation. Instead, I got an extended leave and was paid for half of it. My manager and work bestie made sure to check on me every single week and were able to keep me from going crazy because I was always alone at home. My poor husband was working long hours at his job and still had to make time to take me to the doctor. At least I'll be able to help out around the house, but only on days that I was not exhausted. I just felt so bad for not being able to do more, but he shut me up every single time. One day, my water broke. I was rushed to the hospital where I spent hours in labor, and I gave birth to 3 healthy babies. But once they were out, I crashed. I had lost way too much blood, and it appeared something was going on internally, so I had to get surgery. By some miracle, I pulled through, but fortunately or unfortunately, however you look at it, I can't have kids anymore. My womb was damaged severely when I gave birth, but it was only evident once the babies were out. I decided to get my tubes tied so that we would not even by chance have me fall pregnant again, because this time it would be fatal. The doctors said that it was a miracle I pulled through and was able to give birth to healthy babies. When asked what my secret was, I just told them it was love and the desire to have my family no matter what. Update number 2, it's been a whole year, and OP's back for an update. Hey guys, yeah, I'm back. So I never thought I would update this, but here we are. I can't believe it's been so long. I mean, time truly moves fast when you're happy, but of course things cannot be rosy if I'm posting an update, right? Well then I'll get straight into the problem. My in-laws want to be back in our life. After everything that we have gone through in the past year, they expect us to forgive everything just because they bought us a nice dinner. But for context's sake, let me quickly rewind to what's been going on in the past couple of months. We had to move into my mom's house to save cost, and I stayed home for a couple of months, but my manager kept on checking on me, and in my shock, she had some people at work decide to donate a lot of baby stuff to us. It was so sweet. We also got some financial assistance, which went a long way towards the mountainous bills. If it had not been for the kindness of our co-workers, we would have not made it through this year. Somehow, no one from his family reached out, although I'm sure they saw the pictures I posted of the triplets online, but it was neither here nor there. They did not reach out until a full year, on my triplets' birthday. My husband gets a message from his father asking if we could join them for dinner because they had something important to say. We decided, okay, well, we're going to go, but it took much deliberation. As you can imagine, the interaction was very unpleasant. They did not seem sincere when they told us that they had acted hastily when they cut us off. They had seen how the triplets were growing and wanted to be a part of our lives. They also figured we would need help with them and wanted to offer their service. I told them, oh, we have a lot of support in our lives, so we didn't need them. My mother-in-law looked like she had eaten a sour lemon when I said it. She could not believe that I had the nerve to speak up. Of course she could not, since everyone tiptoes around her. Dinner ended on a very sour note. We were clear about not wanting them in our kids' life, because of how they had treated us in the dark times proved that we could not trust them. They did not respect our decision, as you've probably guessed it. Instead, they tried to bribe us with gifts and money, which I sent back. I refused to take anything that came from them. They could not throw money at us now that we did not need it. I did get in contact with my sister-in-law again, though. She told me that her husband was not really paying much attention to her because he was cheating. Her days in that marriage were numbered, and she was trying to find a job so she could get out. Rekindling my relationship with my sister-in-law was the only highlight of the whole thing, and it also helped to have her give me some insider info, especially after what my mother-in-law did. Out of the blue, CPS. They visited us and claimed that there had been various complaints lodged against us for apparently not taking care of our kids. This is nonsense, because our kids get everything we need them to have, which is everything. Because of this, they had to investigate us and do some interviews. It gets juicier, because in the midst of this, my sister-in-law sent me an urgent text telling me that my mother-in-law had paid a certain people to lie about me. Her neighbors, she had heard it with her own ears and even knew the name of the people. I immediately told the lady who was working on the case, and she re-interviewed the people who lied. When she came back, she said that the sources were not credible, and they had admitted to accepting bribery so they could speak badly about me. I was incredibly disgusted and offended by what they had done. There was no need for them to do that to me. These were people I had been speaking with and on speaking terms and trusted, not knowing that they were colluding with the enemy. Having all this information, I could not let it slide. I nearly lost my babies because of my deranged mother-in-law, who suddenly wants to be grandma. I've decided to sue her for everything that she's worth. My husband fully supports it. He agrees that her power has gone to her head and she has forgotten that she's a person too. Unfortunately for her, I have a newfound strength as a mama bear to crush any threats against my kids. I'll let you know. Update number 3. It's been 2 months. Hey, everybody. So, as soon as my mother-in-law got served court papers, all hell broke loose. She harassed my husband multiple times and tried to force him to get me to drop the case. Of course, he did not do that because he's not an idiot. His father even tried to appeal to him, telling him that the family's peace was in his hands. My husband told them that the only way this would be settled was in a courthouse, then blocked them so they could not contact us. As for the court case, it was very interesting as my mother-in-law tried to pull all the tricks possible to get out of it. Unfortunately, the two women she bribed spoke against her and provided evidence of how money had exchanged hands between them. Of course, her family went on the stand to defend her and claimed that she did not have a corrupt character. However, one testimony left the court shocked. My sister-in-law actually refused to be a character witness for my mother-in-law and preferred to testify against her. She told everybody that my mother-in-law was 100% guilty because she was a deranged control freak. She told everybody that her mother-in-law had always treated us badly as daughter-in-law and had been very mean towards me about the pregnancy. She was so concerned about having a pure bloodline with no disabilities that she tried to feed me a pill. Yep, it was a pill to get rid of my babies. My sister-in-law was unlucky and ended up drinking the juice laced with the pill, and that was how she became incredibly ill. When she went to the hospital, the test results proved this, but before she could even tell her hubby, her mother-in-law approached her and told her to keep it quiet. She told her that she had drunk juice meant for me, but if her sister-in-law said anything, mother-in-law would go to jail. Sister-in-law could not even tell her husband, which weighed heavily on her. We were still in contact when this happened, and she wanted to tell me, but she was prohibited. Unfortunately for her sister-in-law, who had only been married into the family for a year and her husband wanted a kid. However, she could not have a kid due to damage done by the pill. She suffered in silence as her husband became cruel to her and eventually started cheating, all because of her mother-in-law's mistake. When my sister-in-law finished speaking, I was incredulous. That was pure evil. I started crying as I felt bad that my sister-in-law's life would never be the same because she drank something meant for me. Meanwhile, my mother-in-law sat there and stared at my sister-in-law with disgust before calling her a barren liar. Poor sister-in-law had to leave the stand because she was starting to break down. I followed after her and was able to comfort her, which meant that the court was adjourned for the day. Final update 2 months later. Hell is hot, but wherever my mother-in-law's going is even hotter. She and her awful son, my brother-in-law, and possibly father-in-law, because technically he's an accomplice. Maybe one day, when I've healed, I'll write a book about it. The crazy thing that happened in that family, but for now I can only write a short little paragraph telling you what happened at the trial. Turns out, mother-in-law did something crazy. Sister-in-law was actually attempting to unalive. Add that to blackmail charges and wasting state resources, and she earned herself a 10-year bid in the vacation of a prison. I'm sure that she's going to fit right in. She might end up running the place because of how cruel she is. I'm definitely not feeling sorry for her after spending the last good years of her life in prison. She is in her late 50s now, so when she gets out, she'll be in her late 60s. I was proud of the law for actually doing something about it. My sister-in-law's situation really broke my heart, and I would have lost it if she had not gotten justice. My mother-in-law called her a liar, but the evidence found against her was overwhelming and proved that she was a crazy control freak. She could have gotten more years in prison, but I think they were lenient because of her age. Her going to prison tore the family apart. My sister-in-law was kicked out by her a-hole husband as soon as she testified against him, and of course he took his mother's side till the end, despite the overwhelming evidence against her. My hubby and I offered her a place to stay, and she's been staying with us for the past 2 months as she gets back on her feet. She's been helping a lot with the triplets, and we've been living in peace. It's the least that I can do for her courageous actions in court. I wish that I could do more because she's really going through a lot despite leaving my brother-in-law. Her divorce is being finalized, but her husband's dragging his feet and trying to keep her married to him. We speculate it has to do with him suddenly being sick. See, he's been trying to use that angle to get back into her good books, but I've warned her. Rumor has it he got an illness while cheating. My sister-in-law's gotten tested, and luckily she has nothing. She's agreed, with me, that something is definitely going on with him, and it's connected to his cheating ways. She's not the only one going through it because father-in-law is also facing an issue. The family company is tanking. and they might have to sell it soon. But you know what? I can't take credit for what Karma's been doing. I told him to stop being crazy and consider that God is punishing them for letting mother-in-law treat me and my sister-in-law badly. That's the only logical explanation I can come up with. Either way, I don't care what happens to them as long as the people in my household are safe and happy. And that's it.